Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a little disassembly and maintenance on this big guy right here. This is the Spyderco Native Chief. Interesting piece. Huge. Oh my god, huge. At least by my standards. Coming in just over 4 inches. Yowza. It's a biggie. But anyways, this is a knife that I'm very interested to take a look at here, and let's go on ahead and take it apart. As we can see here, this is more or less dead-on centered. Maybe slightly favoring the clip side. Maybe not by much, though. Let's go on ahead and take her apart here. I want to look in there and make sure, yeah, everything is well mounted. It's a conventional Spyderco backlock. Shouldn't be too difficult. If you are hearing random saxophone music, that is my neighbor. My neighbor has decided to take up the saxophone. And living in an apartment complex, that means that I have decided to take up saxophone music. Luckily, this person is actually pretty decent at it, so it's not bad. But there have definitely been moments where it's been a little bit, especially you like watching a movie or something. Like we were watching, freaking Game of Thrones, some dramatic scene, and he's playing I'm a Little Teapot. Like, guys, come on, really? Okay. This little screw here seems to be put in there with a little bit of thread locker or something. So what we're going to go ahead and do is use a little bit more torque. This is a T8 screw. I don't generally advocate just, throwing a little bit more torque at it. But I just want to make sure that, and I'll be very careful and ginger in my application of it. But yeah, okay, it just did need a little bit more. And it started to break free almost as soon as I started twisting there. So, yeah, that's definitely a thing. Some people actually ask about that. Like, why do you use these little wimpy drivers? Well, actually, it's protective in some ways. Because I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally, stripping screws out when they shouldn't be. Using these kind of prevent me from using too much, generally speaking, and that can be a nice detail. Alrighty, so we've got this guy partly taken apart here. Let's go ahead and start popping this loose. And by the way, if you're ever curious about the tools I'm using during my disassemblies, go ahead and check out nickshabazz.com/tools, and that'll show you a video that has all of these described in exquisite freaking detail. Alright, just using this little spudger guy to pop this loose. Quite nearly there. The backside has already sort of dislodged itself. Now it's just a question of unseating the front. Come on. Almost there. There we go. Just lifting, lift. Not using a whole lot of force here as always. Okay, yeah, we're just stuck on that little pin right there. And now we can see exactly how this little guy works. There is a backlock spring in position here that's connected to this backlock bar. And then the lock itself drops down into that groove. So when the knife is closed, it sits in here like this. Oh, that's kind of... It's oddly satisfying, that little curvature right there. Then when the knife is open, it locks up like that. And there you go. Now you've seen this backlock work here. Go ahead and lift this guy off of here. This is a relatively simple design. We've got G10 here. You got phosphor bronze washers. And that's really it. It appears to be running completely dry. That's fine, I guess. We can go ahead and lube it up a little bit here. I haven't really carried this guy too much. I'm using rubbing alcohol just to clean off any gunction that happens to be going on in here. But anyways, you may not even need to lube it up, but I decided, why not, right? Get everything absolutely good to go. Just trying to pop that guy off of here so I can clean this side as well. And then I'm not going to remove the other side of the pivot because this is a pivot that is screwed into from both sides. And there's really no need to do that. I can fully lubricate and clean this washer with this pivot in place. And having one more, oh great, now here comes the trash truck. Guys, this is just not destined to be a quiet disassembly here. Next thing you know, freaking marching band's going to roll through. It's going to be an affair. Anyways, so what was I saying here? Yeah, I don't need to take out that pivot, so I'm not gonna. I'm gonna use knife pivot lube here. It works very well on phosphor bronze washer knives, and so I'll go ahead and do that. Go ahead and just circle around the pivot a little bit there, and I'll put a little bit right along this guy right here. That way the backlock bar is able to swing in a lubricated manner as well. Swinging in a lubricated manner. All right, back at the ranch. Let's go ahead and pop that down onto there. Now what I need to do is, there is no detent ball here, so I don't have to lubricate that. All I really need to do is drop this back into position here. In order to do that, all I have to do is lift this back lock up a little bit, get it out of the way, and then slowly slide that onto position. Then finally, I just need to mount the pivot back into position here. And I'm looking at the pivot here, and I'm realizing that this side is the one with the radial marks, so it must be the one that is pressing against there. And in fact, this side has a G10 padded on it, so we know for a fact that that one pressed up against the G10. Now all I have to do is press this down onto place, or into position. Into place, I suppose, is the way that you should be saying that over here in the English language. And we will go on ahead and drop in the screws here, using a little bit of blue thread locker here. This was a very, very nice and easy disassembly. It's been too long since I did disassemblies. I've had on my table a bunch of stuff lately that are, you know, slip joints and things like that that don't disassemble. And so I've been deprived, if you will, of something that brings my soul a little bit of joy. That's a T10, so I need a T10 driver here. Beautiful. And so now I get back to it. Let's go on ahead. Put this into position here. Now I have over-tightened that pivot a little bit. Maybe I haven't. Maybe that pivot is dead freaking on. Maybe a little tight. See if I can't loosen this up just a smidge. And then because I'm using the Loctite here, that smidge will stay in position, so to speak. Loosen that up a little bit. Do we have any blade play? We do not. All right, so then the final step here is actually going to be to apply a little lubrication to the back of the blade tang there. That just means that this backlock bar will slide along there a little bit more regularly, a little bit more easily. And then as I use this guy, it'll wear in a beautiful manner and probably eventually get to a point where it can drop shut-ish. Not necessarily drop shut, but, you know, just get a little bit more like this here, where it starts to. This guy needs a little loving, actually, independently. All right, we are, again, very slightly favoring the clip side, but it's not to the extent that I give a crap. And we are now good to go. So there you go. This was the disassembly of your Spyderco Knives Native Chief. Very interesting piece. And there you go. Hope this is interesting to you. Have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.